Welcome to YogiViews, where my guest is yoga itself, through interviewing those who practice it, teach it, sell it, or simply love it. I am Antonio Saucis. Swami Vivekananda, who has been credited with bringing yoga to the West, gave cardinal importance to three teachings as most needed by the modern world. He said that one's highest achievement and greatest happiness lies in fully manifesting one's own divinity. He also said that one's clearest vision lies in the perception of divinity everywhere. Lastly, he expressed that one's truest worship is the selfless service of his fellowmen, for his fellowmen are, in reality, God himself. One of the spiritual groups that continues to spread the wisdom of Swami Vivekananda and yoga is the Vedanta Society that is spiritually affiliated with the Ramakrishna Order of India, founded by Swami Vivekananda, for one's own liberation and for the good of the world. One of its goals is to spread the idea of harmony of religions, for they lead to the realization of the same reality known by various names in different religions. The order honors and reveres the founders of all world religions such as Buddha, Mohammed, and Christ. Many have said that Christ was one of the most serious yogis ever known, a concept that is somehow controversial, especially for some Christians. This is the second part of a two-part show where I'm interviewing Swami Vedananda. Swami Vedananda is a senior monk of the Vedanta Society of Northern California in San Francisco. He is well known and respected for his contribution to interfaith dialogues and guiding students in Vedantic philosophy and religion. Before taking his monastic vows, he earned a PhD in physics.
We read the Bible and we can easily understand the sayings of Christ in terms of that Vedanta also describes. There doesn't seem to be any difference. I mean, we describe it in a certain way, he describes it a different way, but we can understand that what is being referred to is that same concept, that the finite, the duty of the finite is to discover its infinite foundation. And when we discover that infinite foundation, we become basically united with it. We become basically one with it. In other words, it's just like the child becomes one with its mother in the sense it sort of buries itself into its mother. It doesn't. It wants that total union. So the teachings of Christ are very much the teachings of yoga. And in fact, in one of our Swamis around the turn of the century, about 1910 or so, he had a picture painted of Christ seated and as teaching, as almost emphasizing his yogic nature. Of course, it was in imagination, but it reflects our idea that what Christ taught is that same fundamental principle that is being also taught not only in Vedanta but in Buddhism. In Buddhism they talk about it totally differently, but if you examine it, the same concepts are there. The same, you touch the same reality expressed in a different way.
And even when you mention the Bible, you're mentioning the present Bible, which also contains some of the Gospels that were chosen to represent Constantine's idea of how he wanted the Roman Empire to be at that time. But apparently there are other Gospels that also talk about specific practices of Jesus that are much more, not just philosophically like yoga, but actually also from a practical standpoint. Now, this is an idea that is somehow yet today, I believe, interpreted in a different way by Christians sometimes. Christians today say that they are not God, that they are not the same as God. Now, do you think that when Jesus was talking about him and then us and then him as the intermediate, do you think he was also referring to that reality that we too have that divine quality, that infinite quality in us?
It is that which is being referred to. I mean, I cannot say that I am God if I think of myself as this body. That doesn't make any sense at all. I am God, and if I think I am this body or I am this mind, God is the name of perfection. And what do we mean by the word God? What we mean is something which is perfect, which is first of all infinite. It is boundless. It has no beginning and no end. It is the foundation of all reality. It is the essence of everything. So if I say that I am this, and what I mean by I is this body, that's a very foolish statement. It cannot be like that. Mm-hmm. Or if I say that my mind, my mind is like is divine in its nature, I cannot say that. My mind is all limited in so many different ways. So what is this I that he's talking about? I and my Father are one. When Christ said I, what we understand by that is what he meant was the soul, the spirit, the infinite reality within each one of us. That is that divinity, that infinite consciousness. For us, the word God really is, as an English word, we use that word because it has a certain connotation that sometimes we want. But actually it is, in Sanskrit, it's described as Sat Chit Ananda. That means God is that infinite consciousness, infinite existence. God is the existence of all that exists. In other words, what is the essence? What is the real essence of everything that I perceive, everything that I am? The basic, if I abstract everything else away, is this idea of existence. In other words, there can never be non-existence. There cannot be death for anyone or anything. The body may die, but there is the essential reality which is embodied, that cannot die. So that is the Sat, it is existence, Chit, it is consciousness, it is awareness. That is the foundation. And Ananda, bliss, means the total satisfaction, the totality of experience, the totality of satisfaction. Isn't it everything that is positive without anything negative, but even beyond what is positive. In other words, it is the foundation of all experience. If you could put it in several different ways. One way is this life can be compared to a movie that I see. And I may be entranced by what I see, and I may be frightened by what I see. I may be hurt by it. Intellectually, I may be, mentally, I may be hurt by it, or I may be overjoyed by it. My emotions and I may be totally disturbed or elated, or all these things may happen to me. But what happens if I'm watching this movie? What happens when the projector stops and the light comes on? Then I see what I'm really looking at. What I was really looking at was not all these things that disturbed me or caused me great joy or whatever, to which I had so many reactions. What I was looking at was a piece of cloth in different kinds of light. None of these things that I superimposed on it actually existed. What I'm seeing, the reality of what I'm seeing is just this piece of cloth. I would never have guessed that until somebody turned the lights on and see, oh, none of these things actually happened. This was all that it was. You know, or when you're falling, when you're asleep, you dream all these things, somebody wakes you up. What happens to the dream reality? It's all gone. So the reality of everything here is infinite, eternal. It's God alone. But it manifests in all these different ways, just like that movie manifested before me. It frightened me, it depressed me, it elated me, it did all sorts of things. But what was it that was doing it?
Yeah.
Only a piece of cloth in different kinds of illumination.
Now, when I'm hearing you give us this description, I realize that, of course, Christ was very concerned with suffering. And he found that to be in contact with the Father was one of the ways of diminishing, or we can say resolving, that suffering. And it's making me find a parallelism with Patanjali's kleshas when he said the causes of suffering. He gave us 5 essential causes of suffering, the second one being egoism, or the false identification with the mind and the body only. So here's a way in which Christ and Patanjali were referring to something similar.
Yes, this is, we have absolutely no argument on any of these issues, because we can see that it was phrased differently, but it was the same thing. It was the same reality that was appearing in different ways and described in different ways. So we don't find any. We don't find anything strange or foreign in the teachings of Christ. Now, the way those teachings were later developed and established, then that's where the differences arise. No, we don't believe in this, we don't believe in that. But the very fundamental, if one reads the fundamentals of the Bible, one easily can recognize the fundamentals of other religions. So that's what we say. Each religion is a response by different human beings to the same reality. This reality manifests itself differently to different people at different times under different conditions, but it is the same reality that we're all looking at. Now, you could say, no, conservatives, people will say, no, it's not the same reality. There's a fundamental difference there. On this level, yes, there are fundamental differences. But when you read the people who have actually experienced God, though they clothe it differently, and you could say from one standpoint it's not the same experience, but you can recognize so clearly the same fundamental structure to the experience. So yes, the experience may have been different, but the basis for, because every experience is a limitation.
Yes.
The truth cannot really be experienced. You can be the truth. You are that truth in your very own nature. But as soon as you talk about experience, it's going to be specialized. Mm-hmm. And so therefore these experiences are different. We don't disagree with that. We don't say everybody is basically experiencing the same thing.
No. We
do say that everybody is fundamentally reporting what he or she experiences in a different way, but beyond the reporting, beyond the experience, beyond the fundamentals of it, the stimulus, the basic stimulus is only one.
Yes. But Swami, why do we become then so possessive and protective of that one way of following that one individual that had that one particular experience. And now we have millions of individuals stating that everything is very different. What's our attachment to this one form of this reality?
Well, that's the trouble when you're attached to any form or any aspect or any manifestation. One tends to put more weight on that. And but also one is right. There is a difference. There is a difference. One cannot say that it is the same. But that in the ancient Rig Veda, there is this statement, ekam sat vipra bahuddha vadanti, that truth, that means that that which is experienced is one. And it is, as we say, avang manasa gotram. It is beyond the mind and beyond our power to express it. Mm-hmm. It's beyond speech and it's beyond the mind. But as soon as we think about it, as soon as we talk about it, we particularize it. To some, however small an extent, we particularize it. And once you particularize something, it almost of necessity means that someone else will see it differently. The main thing is to realize that even though we can't describe it, it's beyond mind and speech, there is the isness of things is what we're all experiencing. In other words, the reality of God is what we're all experiencing. Because we experience physical things, we experience mental thoughts, and we experience that indescribable reality. That ultimate experience is the same. There's only one thing. And if it's not one thing, if there's still division, that means we have farther to go. And some people will have gone to the extent where they see only that one reality. When the experience is the same, but the expressions are infinite and varied. Now, some people will argue with that. They say, how can you say the experience is the same? As long as you can say anything, you're not at that experience.
Correct.
When you no longer can say anything, when it's beyond all speech, and there is such a thing that can be realized. Great people have realized this and have left records of having realized it. Yes. Then there is no argument anymore.
Yes. Would you also agree that sometimes thanks precisely to the practices or the rituals or the religions, all of us can have glimpses of that sometimes? Not just some of the realized masters who, in a way, we could say live in that reality every day, but that all of us have as well.
Oh, yes. And the thing is, we don't always recognize that it's a glimpse of something more fundamental, of something vital and something really foundational. We don't realize that we pass it off as a momentary mood. But when you, in the contemplation of what each one of us thinks as the ultimate reality, in the contemplation of God, sometimes in the experiences in nature when we see something which is so indescribably wonderful or so indescribably awesome that thought actually stops. That which you experience you cannot describe, but you know you've experienced something.
Yes.
And so this is even that you could say is only the slightest, faintest little indication. But it shows the unity of it, and we're all capable of doing that. It comes to everyone. And I remember sitting once in one of our ashramas in the Himalayas, And seeing that vast mountain range at that point, you can see about 150 miles of the highest peaks of the Himalayas. And it was as though thought stopped. It was just awesome. You could not say exactly what you felt, but that you felt you were touching something absolutely foundational and absolutely beneficent and awesome in its majesty. They say those who have seen God cannot live or something. There's that idea that God is so holy that you can never see him. To see him means that you cannot survive. But that is true. That is because your finiteness will, you can no longer tolerate the finite once you've seen the majesty of the infinite. That is what the great souls say, and that is,
But that's even an experience that we have when we have that glimpse of that experience that you've had, but you can't describe. Then it certainly is puzzling to go back to the normal human feelings and the permanent involvement with what's being projected in the piece of cloth, the movie.
Yes, but there is a further aspect, that which is projected is actually the same thing as that indescribable experience.
Yeah.
And our job, especially in a yoga such as karma yoga, is to see the finite, see the infinite in the finite. That if you really look, they say, if you really look into a person's eyes, I mean, not without seeing the rest of the person, but just really intensely look into a person's eyes. This is from the yoga perspective. You get a slight touch of a reality beyond the phenomenal, beyond the finite, beyond the physical, beyond the mental, psychological, beyond all this. Some awesome reality is there behind, looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah. The eyes are the windows of the soul.
The eyes are the windows of the soul, yes.
Now, interestingly enough, we still continue to have the need for the message to return, because despite the fact that great saints and gurus and sages and masters have expressed this that we are talking about, more is needed apparently, and we still are not in that permanent state of identification. So on one hand, now we are witnessing how yoga is so popular, even though the physical aspects are what are most popular, but it's very popular. And yet, if we were to think of Christ as this great prince of yogis, as you named him, what would you say is the most important teaching that Christ shared with the world that is the world still needs to hear, that is still applicable or needed in our modern world?
Yes, I think the idea is these three statements that I was mentioning earlier, that our relationship, what is our relationship with our most fundamental nature? And it's like this: our Father who art in heaven, there's that relationship. Ye are the vine, I am the vine, ye are the branches. We are one. I and my Father are one. Those teachings embody the whole of human striving from the infinite, from the finite to the infinite. And yoga is putting that systematically, those three ways of striving. And but the major thing that I think it is taught by all of this is that that the goal that we're seeking, the infinite, the eternal, unlimited in all ways, full of blessedness, full of love, full of peace, full of redemption, all of this is present right now. And Christ made that quite apparent in so many of his sayings, that God was a reality right now.
Not something we should wait for, that's going to manifest at some given point.
Not something that could manifest later, but each moment of our life should be filled with the consciousness that I am living and moving and having my being in God. That there is nothing but God anywhere, at any moment, at any time. That's why this Vedanta is called non-dual, you see. There's only one reality, and that is that infinite perfection. And Christ emphasized, with every movement, Christ emphasized that. It was everything he did was for the Father, by the energy given by the Father. He was obeying the commands of the Father. Not me, but give the credit to God. It was all, he was constantly aware of the reality of God. I think that's Christ's major teaching. God is a reality, the infinite, the eternal, whatever you name, you give to it, is a reality right now, this very moment. Every instant of our life, God is present, fully embodied in every perception. Pratibodha viditam, it says in the Kena Upanishad. That infinite is to be seen, pratibodha, in every bodha, every perception. Every moment is filled with God. There is nothing, there's no cubic millimeter of space, there's no millimicrosecond of time that is not totally filled with divinity. Our very consciousness of what we are conscious of is the consciousness of infinity. So God must be present every moment, and Christ was the embodiment of that. That's why he was the Prince of Yogis. He fully lived that from the, up to the very end.
Up to the very end.
Up to the very end. It was the presence of God that was motivating him. So in that sense, he was certainly the Prince of Yogis, and something we ought to follow. In every moment, we should see every instant. Of course, it comes and goes, that's okay, but at least we should
make the effort.
We should make the effort, and at least we should accept that as our mode of operation. That this is how we're going to fulfill ourselves. This is how we're going to serve others, the best form of service. This is how we're going to praise God, the infinite, the eternal. This is how we're going to be filled with God.
Yeah.
Every moment.
And certainly this is a way in which the world would change. Now, Swami, time is finite. And as much as I can see how you are leaving me and probably the audience with a lot more questions now, so I will be definitely inviting you back to the show if you ever would like to come back, because there's so many questions you have inspired in me today. I thank you for that. I thank you for coming to the show today, and for your devotion to helping those who you serve practice this, be more conscious of it. So thank you very much.
Very good.
My guest today, Swami Vedananda, is a senior monk of the Vedanta Society of Northern California in San Francisco. He is well known and respected for his contribution to interfaith dialogues and guiding students in Vedantic philosophy and religion. Before taking his monastic vows, he earned a PhD in physics. I hope you liked our show today. And if you care to let me know, shoot me an email at antonio@yogiviews.com. I look forward to seeing you the next time.